Welcome back to Desk-Bound Aviator. This is your host, Steve. And today we're looking at a very interesting aircraft parked here at Missoula, Montana, KMSO. The beautiful aircraft we're looking at here is made in, 1960, 1970, something like that. It's the Dash 7. Four-place turboprop, four-engine turboprop aircraft used for passenger service. In fact, I flew on one of these things back in the 1970s. Terrific. This particular one that we're looking at, the livery is Tly-Cho Air. I may be mispronouncing that. Tly-Cho Air. It's even hard to pronounce. Is a small airline in northern Canada owned by a company called Air Tindy, and they're based in Nunavut, which is way in the northern part of Canada. Just zoom out here a little bit if I can. There we go. Yeah, they're based way up in Nunavut, Air Tindy is, and that's where the headquarters is. And they're owned by, as their website says, Aboriginals. Now, we're not talking Australians here. We're talking people who inhabited Canada. Wait a minute, let me try that again. People who inhabited Canada many, many years ago. And they live in places you and I probably wouldn't want to hang out in, way north of Hudson's Bay and west of Hudson's Bay. Very interesting area. But anyway, this airplane is built by Dehaviland. There's a version 8 of it that you can buy on the X-Plane site that allows, the X-Plane store, I should say. This one, though, didn't cost a nickel. It's free. It's downloaded from the X-Plane forum downloads site, and I'll leave a link to that in the video below, or in the descriptions below this video. And so if you're interested in it, you can download it yourself and fly it. It's got some beautiful features to it, and one of the things that's most interesting about this is that it's a STOL aircraft. That's STOL, stands for short takeoff or landing. And that's what we're going to do today, is a short takeoff. So we'll go inside, take a look in here. There's not too much to look at. As you can see, it's a two-dimensional rendering of the cockpit. A lot of nice dials and various gadgets and things to look at, none of which are 3D the way you would find them in a payware aircraft. And also another thing, if you have a yen while we're flying here to take a nap and go back in the cabin and lie down, I suggest you take a parachute with you, because there's not much to be seen back there in the rear of this aircraft. It's empty, and you may wind up falling on the ground. So word to the wise on that. So let's go up above here, and first of all, we're going to open up the cargo door. Like so. I think I had it the first time. There we go. And the bag door and the air stair. And there goes the air stair. There's the baggage freight stowage area. Great big door in the rear there. And then over on the other side, there's a baggage door that opens up. And while those are open, we can go ahead and turn on the battery switches and the avionics switch. Turn these warning lights off, come down here, and we can pop up the venerable Garmin GNS 530. Let's just bring it up here and pop it open so we can see it clearly. Now, we had a route in here established, and I'm going to replace that route, and I'm also going to show you a different way, perhaps, of entering a route into this GNS 530. A lot of people complain about this because it's difficult to do, in that you have to enter each letter of a waypoint by rotating this dial one by one, letter by letter, which is awkward. And also, this unit does not accept airways, which I find problematic. So in order to remedy that, we're going to jump over here, not to the news, we're going to jump over here to SkyVector. And in SkyVector, we've got a route established from KMSO, Missoula, where we are right now, over to Spokane. And it incorporates a SID and then an airway and so forth. And there are some little twists and turns and things that we need to do to this route once we get it installed. The first question is how we do get it installed, and the way we do that is we come down here to Navlog, tap that button. That opens up a new web page, which is actually our route as a PDF document, and so we'll save that. I hit Command S because I'm on a Mac, and I get Navlog PDF, and I'm going to put it in my downloads folder, right like that. Now, before I get rid of this page, I'm going to jump over here to a placeholder I've got for XPlane11.com. This is created by my friend Brad Cathy. He was a brilliant inventor and designer and creator, and what he did was develop this website with a flight plan converter, a descent calculator, and a JAR co-route converter. And so if you're flying an Airbus 320, you want to look at that. In this case, we're not doing that. We're just flying a normal aircraft. So we'll come back to this in a second. First thing I'm going to do is go to our Finder, and there's our Navlog. If I double click that, I'll get Acrobat to open it up, and there's our route. Now, there's lots of other information on that route, including route altitudes and weather and stuff like that. I'm only interested in right now in the waypoints and the coordinates. So I'll select that side, copy that to the clipboard, and then I'm going to jump back over to Brad's converter, and I'm going to give this route a flight name, which is KMSO with a hyphen, and KGEG for Spokane Airport. Curse down there and paste in the route, and it includes the route waypoints and all of the lat-long coordinates of each waypoint. I'm then going to go to source of data and select SkyVector, and the output is going to be in X-Plane's FMS format. When I hit convert, it tells me that I have the file here, and if I right-click it, I can then download it. So that's done. We can make that go away, and now we can jump back over to the Finder, and here's our route. Now, the first thing you see about this route is as unusual in that it has .fms and then .txt. The .txt is because I'm on a Mac, and I'm using Safari, and that's what Safari does, and that's an error. So I will delete that. Apple's asked me if I'm really sure I want to do that, and I say yes, I am. I'm going to then go to my X-Plane route folder and go into the output folder within that, and within that I'm going to go to the the FMS plans folder, and I'm going to drag this file right in there. So that's now my FMS plan for this flight. Now we can go back to X-Plane, to the GNS 530, and if I tap on flight plan, I'll see I've got the remnants of a previous flight in here. All I need to do then is, without entering anything or highlighting anything in here, so you don't push this push button, what you do is just put your cursor there until it forms a little arrow on the inside, the smaller wheel, and you tap it. That brings you to the flight plan catalog. The flight plan catalog is in fact the outputs FMS plans folder, and within that there's our route. So I do now tap this with the push button. It activates it or highlights it. I can then enter it. And that plan is now into the Garmin 530. But there are some issues with it. And the first issue is that if you recall from looking at our star here. We didn't really look at that, did we? Diddley 5. So we can go into Missoula and come down here to Diddley 5 and take a look at that. You see, we take off here. We're going to be taking off on runway 30. They call it here. 29 is really what it is. We're going to be taking off to the northwest, and our first waypoint is going to be Diddley. But the route has us going back to Missoula, and I don't really want to do that. So I'm going to take Missoula and delete it. In order to do that, I first have to push the cursor. So I activate the route, and then I move the cursor down to MSO, and now I'm going to come up here to clear and clear MSO by hitting enter. So now we've got Diddley, Alton, Libri, and then to MLP and on to Ropes and Lucev, which is the first waypoint we're going to be using on our descent into KGEG. Now what I want to do is activate our procedure, or our approach procedure. So I'm going to go to procedure page and select approach by hitting enter. That allows us to select runway ILS 21, which is what we're going to use. And I'll cursor down to that and hit enter. And we've got Lucev as an IAS. I'm going to try vectors because I've already got Lucev. Let me just see what happens when I hit vectors. So I'm going to enter vectors and load it. Now I'm going to take a look at that whole thing. Here's our route. We've got it highlighted, so we can go ahead and cursor down the list. There's Lucev, KEG, our approach. And now we've got another Lucev. So you might say, well, you don't need two of them. Why don't you just eliminate this one? I'm not going to do that because I want to see on our route as we're flying that I've passed Hyper, Ropes, and now I'm heading toward Lucev. And at that point, I will activate our approach. So that's the drill. Now we can go back to our route and we can make the FMS screen go away. Maybe before I do that, I'll shrink it down here by dragging the lower right corner so it's a nice convenient size, and then I'll drag it down here to the corner so that when I pop it up, it's kind of out of the way. Now we can make it go away. So to get things started here, first thing we'll do is turn on the bus tie switch. Come across and turn on some lights. Leave the strobe light off until we're out at the runway. And I want to turn on the APU. So I'm going to switch this over to the start mode. Come down here and flip on the APU gen and the APU lead. And lastly, the DC converter. Now you'll see this needle climb up into this area, and then you'll see a green light here. That indicates your APU's fully powered, up and running, ready to go. Since we're going to be backing up, we want to tell our passengers to sit down and fasten their seat belts and stop smoking, if they were. Then we can close the cargo door and the bag door, and the air stair can come up. There it goes. And that's about it. At that point, now we want to call up our better pushback. Now let's see, we had a position here, and I am going to try a different position. Let's see if I can zoom out a little bit. Yeah. I'm going to try a different position today. I'm going to back up way over to here, because sometimes there's some vehicular traffic that goes along that roadway, that dotted line there. So I'm going to try right over here this time.
Ground to cockpit. Plan acknowledged. Call me through the menu when you are ready.
Wait a minute. I think we've got a problem with that, so I'm going to do it again. You see this little switch here? So I'm going to delete that whole thing. Is there a way to clear that? Click and drag, click, mouse wheel, enter, escape, connect first. Let's see if we can, yeah, let's clear that one. There we go. Now I'm going to back up Because if I didn't do that, the backup process would have us going in circles. I've been through that drill before, and sometimes it gets pretty crazy. So I'm going to just have them back the airplane up way back here, because we want to go down in this area here when we taxi. So now I enter.
Plan acknowledged. Call me through the menu when you are ready.
And now we should be good.
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed. Ready to connect.
All right, now we want to have our, for starting the engines, we want to have our throttle set down here at flight idle. We want to have the condition lever at start and feather, right about that position. Now to start up today, I think what I'll do is try an experiment that I saw in a video where the pilot of an actual...
Tow connected and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
There we go. An actual fly-show aircraft flying this, the Dash 7. He started just 2 engines, so I'm going to go ahead and try that. I'll go ahead and turn on all 4 fuel pumps, get those started, and I'll turn on all 4 fuel feed switches, and then all 4 igniters. But I'm only going to start up engines 1 and 4. To do that, we hit the start button, and you'll see 4 lights indicating the startup is beginning. When you see 4 green ones, then you know that you're off and running with that engine. So now we'll do number 4. There we go. Number 4 is starting up. So we'll give this a try and see if it works. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. Now that those switches, those engines are running, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the DC generator for 1 and 4. I'll turn on the hydraulic pumps. And we'll turn on the prop heat for 1 and 4. And the bleed air can go on for all of them. Pitot heat can go on. And the, I'll go ahead and turn all 4 of these on. I'm hoping this start process works. Sometimes when you turn some of these switches on and you try to start it won't work. So we'll go ahead and turn on all of these guys for prop heat. And we can, now that we've got our engines running, we can go ahead and turn off the APU. And the APU bleed, and I'll turn on the bleed switches for engines 1 and 4. And we can go ahead and activate the pressure system.
Operation complete. Set parking brake.
Right, park brake set.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by. Hand signal on the left. We'll see you next time and have a safe flight.
Okay, so let's just do a final check down here. We can go ahead down here and turn on the transponder to taxi mode. The nav1 radio is set for our approach frequency, Spokane, for 111.10. We can come up to the upper panel, and you see this little dial right here. That's the trim setting, and I'm going to use a key on my keyboard to lower that 2 notches to that position right there, and that'll help us after we take off to control the process of pulling the flaps up, keep the airplane from dipping, which it tends to do with those big flaps. You notice over here in this corner, this is the speed dial, and I'm going to go ahead and change the cruising speed. I'm going to ramp this up to 220, and you notice this orange triangle down here. Watch that move up to about 220 is about the maximum cruise speed. We'll set it to that, and then later on as we climb, we'll set it on auto throttle. We've got our altitude preset at 12,000 feet. That's our cruise altitude. And our climb rate today is going to be 1,500, and that's set into the VS dial here. We can go ahead and rotate the nav source over to GPS. We want to take a look at the 530 and make sure that's also the CDI is set to GPS, and it is. We won't do anything with autopilot just yet. We'll go ahead and turn on the yaw damper, and we can rotate the brakes down to RTO. Last thing we need to do is to adjust the flaps. This is your flap indicator right there. I'm going to do 2 notches, which runs it down to there. You can see that that's going to be a lot of flaps. All right, having done all of that, we can go ahead and advance the condition lever about halfway or so up to here, and the same thing with the power. And that should be sufficient to get us rolling. And we're going to go out here and cross runway 25 on our way down to runway 29. So we'll let the park brakes go. And as you see, it's just enough to get us going in the right direction, and nice, comfortable speed for taxiing. In fact, you can even pull back on the throttle once you get going. All right, let's see if we can do this on the fly. Get ourselves straightened out here. Come up here to engine 2. Forward green lights. Engine 3. Forward green lights. And our engines are all nicely running. That's the way they did it in real life, so that by the time he got to the end of the runway, he had all 4 engines running.
On runway 29.
Okay. Brakes on. Condition lever full. Power up to about 20, a little bit about 15. It settles back. Brakes off. Power up full. And you'll see that red speedo dial quickly come up to about 90 or so and rotate. Boom, up in the air we go. Gear can come up. Flaps up 1. See the nose dip. So we make a little adjustment for that. And now we can go ahead and activate VS so we can start our climb automatically. And we'll tap on the LOC and change this over to auto, and that will put us onto our route line, which you can see here. Little zigzag as we get onto the line. On our way to Diddley and Alton, a little bit of a zigzag there between those 2 waypoints for some reason. That's part of the SID coming out of Missoula. All right, now that we're comfortably cruising, just bring up those flaps 1 more notch. little bit. Comes back up. So we're settling in at our 1,500 foot climb rate, passing through 5,000. Come up here and turn off the landing lights, I guess. We can do that. Or the taxi light, I meant. Not the landing lights yet. We're not up to 10,000. Everything else looks quite normal. Now, I thought I'd try something on this flight a little later on that might be interesting. You know, earlier we discussed my friend Brad's tools, his X-Planetools, and what I'm going to do, let's see, that's not that. We want his descent calculator. So I'm going to clear that out, and let's see if we can get that to work. And in order to do that, what I'm going to do is go into our flight plan and come down here to, first we have to enter the box, and then scroll down here to the approach. And I'm starting, let's see, starting at ropes. Now, just to acquaint you again, come back over here to our flight here. Our flight goes along this general line up through Mulan Pass. There's a bunch of waypoints in here on this airway, and then it ends at ropes right there. And then we fly over here to Lucev and start our approach into runway 21. Here's Lucev, Sigyo, and then on into the runway. Now it tells us that our altitude at Sigyo is going to be 3,900 feet. We do have an altitude restriction at Lucev, but I'm not going to attend to that for the moment. I'm primarily concerned that we be at 3,900 feet at or before Sigyo in order to capture our ILS glide slope. So 3,900 is the magic number, and Sigyo is the waypoint. I'm coming back over here, and I'm going to measure the distance between these various places. So the first one, these various waypoints, first one is, back up just a little bit here. All right, so the distance from ropes to Lucev is 12 miles. I'm going to take a piece of paper here and add this up. So we've got 12.0. Then if I come down here, the distance between Lucev and Sigfo, oh, you know what? I want to do this earlier. Let me back up on that. Okay, I want to start at High Lie. So from High Lie, okay, not at High Lie. I want to start at High Per, right here, because High Lie is 42 miles away. That's too far. Starting at High Per, 6.1 miles to ropes. So I'm adding that to my list. Then from ropes down to Lucev is 12 miles. Then from Lucev to Sigyo, I guess it is 12.1. Now let's just check. And then we've got 6.3 miles from Sigfo to runway 21. I'm hoping that that's all correct. I think it is. So adding that up, I've got 12, 12.1, and 6.1. So that's 24. Where did I get? Yesterday I tried this and I had, oh, it's 15.2 from Lucev But that was to the airport. Okay. All right. I know I made a mistake yesterday when I tried this out. So we've got 12, 12, 24, 6 is 30.2 miles from Hypro down to Sigyo, that distance. So I'll show you that on the chart. Hypro is back up in here somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where because we've got a V2 airway. So starting from about this point to Ropes, and then to Lusev, and then down to our acquisition point, that's going to be 30.2 miles. Now, if we go back to Brad's calculator, and we want to know the vertical speed, we want to know, first of all, our cruise altitude is going to be 12,000. Our target altitude is going to be 3,900. Our speed below 10,000 feet is going to be, let's say, let's cut it down to 175. And calculate. Start miles before. Yes, the start miles before is going to be 30.2. Now calculate. 782 feet per minute. So let's give it a try and see if it works. A little flag with my mail company, that's all. Come back over here to X-Plane and we'll give it a try. When we get to High Pro, we'll dial in 175 knots at 782. I'll jot that down. Or 800 we can do. Feet per minute. Good. We'll give it a try. And we are now on our way to MLP on a beautiful evening. And what I'll do now is let you take a nap if you like. But as I said before, I caution you not to take a nap back in the cabin area unless you wear a parachute. There was a guy who did that once, but not here. He did it in Oregon with a bag of money, I believe. Okay, so we've got a way to go on our trip here today, and I'll let you nod off or have a cup of coffee or whatever you like, or you can just look at the view. It's pretty neat. But I'll suspend our video making for a while and bring it back when things start to get interesting on our descent. Okay? See you soon. Okay, welcome back. We have we passed our descent point. Started off here. Well, you can't see it now because we passed the point, but we started at an earlier waypoint than mentioned earlier, and I recalculated the distance. It turned out to be 39 miles, and our descent rate is now 600 feet. This is using Brad's calculator. So at the moment, we're dropping down to 10,000. Our speed of descent is 175. The rate is now 600 feet per minute. And we have checked our baro pressure at Spokane. Reset the baro over here by using this little dial. You can just dial that in, change that like so. And that's the story. We'll pass ropes here on our way to Lucev. And we want to see if we're somewhere in the vicinity of 5,500 to 6,000 at Lucev. That was the altitude restriction there. Our target altitude, of course, is 3,900. That's at Sigyo. By that time, we'll be looking to switch over to nav 1 mode or source and capturing our glide slope. Starting to make the turn as we pass 6,200. And it looks like we've got, not there yet, Lucev. Ah, yes, we are there, because now we're, oh, we know what we need to do. Oh, shoot. Oh, shoot. Oh, shoot. What did I do? Activate approach. Lucev. And then we want to go to Sigyo. Enter. Direct. Activate. Let's see how we're doing. 4 miles to go. That was close. And my guess is we're not going to make it right on target, so I'm going to go ahead and increase this descent rate to 1,500. We can go ahead and try to see if we can capture the glide slope. Drop our speed a bit. And it looks like we've got something, because that's green. If that's green, that indicates that you've got your glide slope. So here we are approaching Sigyo and approaching 4,200. We've got an indication of glide slope. So if the rate of descent, if the descent continues, then we're golden. Let's go ahead and lower the gear. Comes out of the engine pods. And it looks good. We're descending. I'm going to turn auto throttle off. Bring our speed down and throw in a notch of flaps. Naturally, the nose goes up and then down and dips. Make that go away.
Flaps. Flaps.
All right, we'll give it a try. Copy lights look good.
Approaching 2, 1.
Now, my experience is you want to keep your speed up with these, with all these flaps. Ramp ramp up the condition lever. And we'll see if the autopilot brings us right in on target. Looks pretty good so far. Looking at about 100 knots. And then as we touch down, we'll drop it back down to 90 or 80. Okay. First thrust. And slow it down. Reverse off. A bit of brakes. And we can pull off right about here. That was pretty good. Now, the one thing I haven't been able to get to work yet on this aircraft is auto gate. So we're not going to see any evidence of that helping us park. We don't use the gate anyway with this aircraft. We've got our own gate. There we go. And let's open up that air stair. Let our passengers out. So that was it. We'll take care of the switches and stuff in short order. But I think that worked out pretty well. The landing was probably one of the nicest ones I've seen yet in this aircraft. Very gentle and controlled. Not so sure about Brad's descent calculator. I probably didn't do it properly. That's always the case. But I hope you enjoyed that flight. It's a pretty neat aircraft. The Dash 7, built by Dehaviland in Canada. Big turboprop engines, a lot of fun to fly. So let me know if you have any questions about this aircraft or any other aircraft you have seen or that you want to see. And I'll try to answer them best as I can. I am not a professional pilot by any means, so none of this is meant for real piloting lessons. This is all just, fun and games, folks. So take it at that. I will see you soon with something else to keep ourselves interested. This is Steve. Thanks for joining me on Desk Bound Aviator. See you soon.